Hi, and welcome to the Quick and Dirty Romance Podcast. We're your hosts, romance authors, and bi-coastal friends for life. I'm Skye McDonald, author of the hockey goalie romance, Scoreless.
And I'm Sarah Smith, author of No Freaking Way.
And together we are Sarah Skye, author of the best-selling Unlikely Pairings series.
Each episode will dive deep into what it's like to be a contemporary romance author. We'll talk writing inspiration, give you the inside scoop about the publishing world, chat about how we write those infamous sex scenes, and more. And then we'll pull out and wrap it up in 30 minutes or less, but we promise to leave you satisfied.
And if you haven't already read our books, please be sure to check them out after you listen to this podcast and DM us for any questions or future requests of episodes that you might have.
So today we're talking about partnerships, and we're super excited to have another dynamic partnership joining us to deep dive on the topic. Please welcome to the show Naomi Springthorp and Tonya Clark.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So Naomi and Tonya are individually contemporary romance authors. Naomi is a USA Today bestselling author known for her All About the Diamond Baseball romance series. Tonya is also a USA Today bestselling author of Driven Roads, Shame on Me, and more. She's also a novel cover photographer, but together they are love and devotion, hosting romance-themed book conventions in California.
Yes, so welcome Naomi and Tonya. We're so thrilled you're with us today. And our topic today is going to be partnerships, and it makes pretty good sense between the four of us. Sarah and I are very familiar with a lot of questions that come out from being an author duo. Now, you two have not co-written together, is that right?
Not yet.
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, so
we have a story we're going to co-write.
Mm-hmm.
It's long waiting. And then we have another one that I want to co-write, but she's not in.
Okay. So we'll get there. Start with telling us how you two hooked up and what was the inspiration for your partnership.
Well, I can tell you this one. My first book came out in June of 2018, and I have a very good friend who owns a bookstore, and she hosted what she called a coming out signing for me. And I invited a bunch of authors, and Tonya was one of them. And I met Tonya, so I met her there. And that day before she left, she come over to me and she goes, "We need to do photo shoots together for covers, and I want to get back doing this, and so you're gonna have to help me do that. We're gonna do that." And ever since, I've been the model hunter.
The model hunter.
That sounds like an awesome job, by the way.
Tell us more.
Well, out of the two of us, Naomi's a little bit more outspoken, I guess you can say. So I believe we met Matt at that signing as well, right? Yeah. And it just seemed to be, I don't know, it really flowed. It was really easy. And I'm not shy. I'm not shy if I know you. If I don't know you, I'm a little bit shyer. Now she will literally at a baseball game go up to someone and go, "Hey, you're kind of hot. What do you like to be on covers?" So we nicknamed her the model hunter. I also named her the oil applier, but she doesn't like that one as much.
Why don't you like that one, please?
I agree. I like to know.
It's not a bad title, but it's I mean, I'm not going to say it's not a pleasurable experience to apply the oil to the models, but it's like when we're doing photo shoot, it's kind of all business. You know what I mean?
Very much.
So you're very business-like and business-minded as you're slathering oil across an 8-pack. Is that what I'm understanding?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And she'll tell me, and Tanya's all in charge when we do photo shoots. So it'll be like, can you get just a nice light, amount over that tattoo because I want it to have a sheen, and things like, so there's direction, it's not like I get to just hi baby, come on,
Okay. Is there sponging? Do you have to sponge? So I'm so fascinated by
all hands.
Everybody wants her job. I don't know what she's talking about. Every time we talk about it, everybody's like, if she don't want it, we got it. But no, we actually work together really well when it comes to the photography part of it. I'm thrilled to have her next to me. We have some amazing models. We find the guys that are just out on the street, literally she's picked up, I would say 90% of them easily. But so it just kind of brings a different perspective into our modeling that we have. It's not like guys that are used to modeling have had all this stuff that they're kind of got like this big head on them. They're very down to earth. They're very sweet. So our photo shoots are so much fun. I mean, she literally will be holding the strap of my camera when I'm like in the water of a pool. So that way, if I fall in, she's got the camera going out.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, don't worry about me. Let it happen. Just make sure that the camera's out of the pool. So we work together great. So no, she's not just my oleo player, and she's not just my, my model finder, which she finds some amazing ones. But she's, she's my third hand, I guess you can say, when I need it. So
That's
I mean, we've been
amazing.
to the ocean, so she's always like right there. And the first thing is keep the camera safe. Camera safe.
That really makes sense. Like usually you can kind of get yourself up from the ocean, but like the camera, once it's down, it's down. So
Yeah.
I can change clothes.
That's amazing. Well, I can confirm because I have been at your convention, and your models who attended that one were absolutely fantastic, just lovely people. So you're saying that, I mean, I think our listeners are going to be fascinated by this because we've never talked to anybody who's on the other side of the creation of it. So you sort of pull guys off the street. Do they need to get into a certain amount of shape, or are you just kind of looking for that as you go? Tell us more.
I look for guys that look like what we want.
Mhm.
So if they don't already look like what we want, I'm probably not going to walk up to them and talk to them.
Okay.
I mean, unless I'm getting a really good view of the rear and everything looks good, and then you might need to come across a bag your face every once in a while that way. But
Naomi just looks to make sure they look good in baseball pants. That's all she's looking for.
it's really true. I like them to look good in baseball pants.
It's important.
I have a question. Do you like when you go up to people, to potential model clients, like is the response typically pretty positive, or are people like, I'm gonna call the police? Not that you guys are like, since you're clearly not, but like some people get very like, what is this?
Right. Do they think you're hitting on them? Is it a
I start when I go up to them pretty obvious and say, hey, I write romance novels, and my buddy writes romance novels. So we do photo covers for romance covers. I think you look really good on one. We're harmless, because they don't know the truth. And and I think we're harmless, and you're everything that I'm supposed to be looking for right now. And usually I either get one thing or the other. One would be, well, and they stutter a little bit and they walk away. Or they get, oh yeah, no, that's cool. Let's do that. Give me your number. And then whether they call you or not, whatever. But my favorite one would be when I found Travis, and he was at the ball game, and he was sitting about 8 rows below where I was sitting at the game. And he was wearing the opposing team's jersey, which doesn't work well for me. And I went down and I walked in the row behind him, and I sat down there behind him, and I tapped him on the shoulder, and he goes, yeah. And I told him, I go, you've got all the things I'm supposed to be looking for, because Tonya had told me specifically, we need somebody with dark hair, we need tattoos, we need big arms, and that's Travis. Yeah. And I said, and he looks at me and he turns around and gets this funny grin on his face and goes, would you always walk up to guys that look like douches? Anyway, and it's like, as soon as he did that, you knew it was like, oh, I love him. You know what I mean? And I immediately told him, I go, well, no, but look, I'm already trying to ignore the fact that you're wearing that orange jersey. So let's not talk about it. So, yeah.
But then she sends me a picture of his backside. And she's like, well, he worked. I'm like, what am I looking at? I'm all, can you get the front side? These are great, don't get me wrong, but
these are details, Tonya, details.
I know. She's always looking at the butt.
Baseball pants. I understand.
Baseball pants, exactly.
That's amazing. So you kind of bring them in. So like, tell us about one of the crazier moments in this photography partnership. Like I'm hearing ocean, I'm hearing pool, but like a standout, like, well, there was that.
Tonya, you got to tell them about Matt at the school grounds.
Oh my gosh. So Matthew Carruthers is one of our first models that we brought into our crazy duo. And he's an amazing guy, but Matt hates clothes. Let's just put it that way. And so I'm also a soccer coach, so I have access to our junior high school here in town. And Naomi wanted some baseball pictures, so we went over there. It's a Sunday, nobody's on the fields, and we're taking pictures. And we did some baseball ones, and Naomi and he needed to change clothes. I didn't know he was literally going to drop all of his clothes and keep walking across the field as he was doing it. So Naomi and I are walking in front of him, and we both turned around, and it was just like, oh, well, okay, we're going to keep walking this way. And Monday, I got a call from the school because the cameras caught Matt on the field. And I've lived here all my life, a majority of my life. So I know everybody who works on all of our schools really well. And she's like, hey, Tonya. And I'm like, what? And she's like, so what did you do here on Sunday? And I'm like, well, if you're calling me, you obviously already know. Like, well, and I'm like, listen, it was purely by accident. I go, but I want to know how many times have you guys watched the video? And she goes, yes, we do want to thank you, but we can't have it happen again. I'm like, I completely understand. So I would say all around, that is probably one of our most popular stories that we tell, because Matt is a riot. Matt will just completely, literally shed his clothes and surprise the crap out of you. Not like at our signings or anything. And I mean, Skye, you've probably met Matt. So you know how Matt is, but
Yes.
he's a kicker. He's so much fun, but that is probably our most popular story. That's the most memorable one.
And there's
I can
other
say, having met Matt, that makes sense. Matt took me around for a spin on the dance floor at the Love and Devotion Con, and I was unprepared for the level of dance skill that man had. I thought he was going to just like BS it, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot keep up.
Oh no, yeah, Matt is, he was our first model, and I freaking adore him and love him, and he's on quite a few of all of our covers, but he's pretty good. He's pretty cool.
He was unforgettable. I'll say there. Hey, on your Muffin Man, that was your debut, right, Naomi?
No, this is actually book 4.
Oh, book 4. I think that was the first one I heard you talk about then. That makes sense. And Tonya as well. So you two, on top of photography, also host events. How did you expand into that?
We're crazy.
Naomi said I got an idea. That's what she usually starts every conversation off with. She goes, Naomi will call me, and the first thing out of her mouth was, I have an idea, but it's probably a bad one. Lo and behold, it's 5-6 signings later, and we haven't killed each other, so it's good.
It's amazing.
It sounds like you guys have a good dynamic though, like you balance each other out in the way that you need to. Like it wouldn't work if both of you had the same personality type, I think.
No.
Because then you wouldn't like, not that you have imperfections per se, but like the things that you don't like to do, you wouldn't have that person there,
I think that's what makes the best partnership, to be honest.
We both definitely have imperfections, and we are pretty much opposites.
Yes.
Oh,
we
really?
Yeah, I feel that too. Sarah and I are wildly different in many, many ways. I remember one of the first things that stood out to me about Sarah. Sarah and I met actually on Twitter, because we are bi-coastal, and we have had the joy of being together several times. But we met on Twitter when we were both like pitching, right? And we needed beta readers and that's how we started knowing each other. But I remember one of the first like goofy conversations we were having, and again, it was on Twitter in the days, and Sarah said something like, I'm basically a human cardigan, and I was like, that's interesting. So Sarah and I are also like very different in a lot of ways, but it sounds like similar to you all. It's kind of like, hey, I have an idea, okay, but we're going to make it happen. And I think that one of the things that makes a partnership really work is not only the complementary nature, but also like the commitment to like seeing something happen. We discuss a lot kind of the idea of, there's so many times where it's like, oh, we should totally do that, but then people just kind of falls through or it fizzles out. And for Sarah and I, it's been a series of like, we've recorded together, we've written together, and it is just kind of that, hey, I have an idea, and then we make it happen, similar to how you all have done. So now I have to ask, what are your zodiac signs?
I'm a Leo.
And I'm a Cancer and a Leo.
Well, there it is. That makes sense. Okay, very good. Sarah and I are Aquarius and Gemini, and I have to be honest, I don't even know what they say about that, but
I have no idea. I don't know. You know more about astrology than I do, and I still don't even know like what I as a Gemini, what I'm supposed to do, or what my traits are, or what I'm supposed to be like. I have no idea.
You are a Gemini. I will explain more. You are a Gemini and I am very Aquarius. I'm gonna have to look more up about this. But Leo, Cancer, especially with Tonya saying like
I'm
she's
a cusp. Yep, I'm a
tends to be
cusp.
withdrawn. Okay, okay.
And being on the cusp, her and I will butt heads at times. I mean, but every partnership will. And I think that's when we, kind of mesh the most is right afterwards when we can kind of, figure it out. So
Interesting.
How do you deal with that? Like, because I think a lot of people wonder, like, if you have a partnership, they just assume, oh, if you're doing well, then you always get along, you never have conflict. But it sounds like you do. You just resolve it in a productive way.
I mean, we've been pretty fortunate. Nothing's been like, the bomb that's blown off. There's been a few things. And I mean, and I think it comes down to more of just how everybody's days are going, I mean, I think it's just like your family and stuff, who you can take things out on. And sometimes when you're having a bad day or something's going on, it might come out onto that person that might not have anything to do with it. It's just you're the target at that moment because they can it's kind of like knowing someone's going to forgive you, type of deal. So don't blow off on the person that you don't really know, but let's blow off on you're just there. And so I think as long as you keep that in mind and you don't take things completely too personally, you can pretty much get through anything.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And honestly, I think it's more like what happens in our personal lives impacts us more than anything else. And if we try to stay in tune so we know, hey, I've got this going on. And that's, I think, what makes us as a partnership good, because if we've got something going on, then we're kind of like, I got you, and we cover each other. So, go do what you're going to do and we'll do this. And,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even at, the events, we teeter each other. I'm still, working 2 or 3 jobs. So during the day, you'll notice that Naomi's doing a lot of the, interaction online, doing that kind of stuff. She's answering the questions. Normally I'm going on to answer and I already see her little bubbles coming up. So I'm like, screw it, I'm back, let her go,
Mm-hmm.
type of deal. And then during the event, I'm the one, especially since I'm the photographer of the event, I'm doing most of the running around, talking to everybody, kind of, making sure. So it's kind of like we balance each other in that, in that part of it.
That makes sense. Totally makes sense. Sarah, did you have another question? I was going to ask about the events.
Yeah. I guess it just, not really a question, but I did just want to say, like, I appreciate you guys being honest about like your partnership, because I think as soon as people hear like, oh, you're romance cover partners and you do sexy covers together, some people must think like, oh, that must just be like nonstop fun and like awesomeness. But it's nice to hear you be honest about like, sometimes you do run up against like conflict or stress or something is happening in your personal life and you can't be 100% for your partner. And that's okay. And you guys sound like you give each other a lot of grace and you're forgiving, but you're also understanding and you both work hard. So it sounds like as long as you have those core elements and you actually enjoy being friends with each other, that's a big part of why it works for you. So I appreciate you being honest.
that's absolutely it. And I think a lot of people don't realize too, like, we really enjoy doing the signings and organizing the signings and putting them together, but they do get to be stressful.
Mhm.
They get to be definitely a stressful thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, we're like 75 days, I think, away from our next signing.
Very good. Yeah, I imagine there are so many moving pieces. I mean, Naomi, you and I have talked about that a little bit as I'm looking at things for other projects, but we'll not put that on the table now. But yeah, the amount of moving parts, right? And the amount of things that you have to make sure are not only attended to, but also all in order. And then the number of people you're balancing between, thinking about the authors as well as the readers and how the experience like melds for both of them, like how you can bring it together. It was always it's a very like multifaceted thing, and I'm sure that like having the two of you sort of working in tandem is the best way, like, and that's one of the things about partnerships a lot of times. And it's interesting because we're talking about professional partnerships, but really all of this, I mean, we're all romance novelists, and it all relates to the way in which you enter any partnership, romantic or platonic, right? Like, it's not supposed to be, concentric circles that are just the one circle. It's supposed to be a Venn diagram, right? There are the places that you overlap and there are places that you don't. I would say, like, I would say like with Sarah and I, Sarah's very good at keeping us on like the business sort of like straight ahead kind of thing, especially when we're writing. Like I remember our last book, Sarah was like, "Are you ready?" Because I was dragging really bad, and she was really nice about it. Sarah's always like sometimes too nice to me, but she was really nice to me. But I was like, "I'm gonna have it tomorrow, I promise." So, but just like keeping each other on those tracks and like making sure that the other one doesn't need more, right? Like Sarah said, like giving grace, but also like making sure that they're holding to the piece that they're going to hold to. I think all of those things, like it is a Venn diagram, but it does take a special kind of compatibility to be able to not only push somebody, but also work with them, I guess I would say.
And there's skills too, like the Venn diagram, there's skills. Like, so like looking at Tanya's circle, it would have Google Forms. And if you look at my circle, it would not have Google Forms.
He's not allowed to
So
touch you.
I'm not allowed to touch him. So, things like that, you know what I mean? But, but then like, I'm the one that I'm the spreadsheet person. And if you look at Tanya's, hers would not have the spreadsheet. So it's a very interesting,
But we deal with a lot of personalities with all these authors as well. And
Yeah.
some of them I can handle better than she can, and some of them she can handle better than I can. Or if it's like she's just having one of those days, she'll text me and she'll go, dude, I'm done. And I'm like, okay, I got it. Just relax, So we can balance each other off so that way, everybody gets the best side of love and devotion as we possibly can. And that's I think what makes the best partnerships anywhere you go. I mean, you got to realize we're working with anywhere from 70 to 85 different authors, models, narrators and stuff. That's a lot of personalities to put onto the table. And each signing, we definitely learn new ones.
Yeah.
I am sure you do.
We're a creative bunch, and with that comes a very creative mind. So, creative people can be fun.
Indeed. Indeed. So in thinking about that, so we mentioned at the beginning that you all have not written together, although is it safe to say that you have published together I know that you have released anthologies in connection to Love and Devotion. So like you're also like a co-publisher. But as we're talking about writing, what holds you back from doing a book together? Is it timing or is it something else? And if you were to do a book together, how do you think that would look between the Google Docs and the spreadsheets?
Well, wait a minute, hold on, Naomi. Let's clarify. So we've had this book idea that everybody really wants us to write, and it's more of a rom-com. I am not a rom-com author in any way, shape, or form. I would love to be able to, but it's really hard to bring those words onto the page. So I'll be honest, it's more of a fear factor for me that I can't keep up with Naomi, which writes rom-coms. She writes amazing rom-coms. So I mean, if you haven't read Muffin Man, that'll be a complete idea of what happens with Naomi and rom-com. But I have a huge, huge, huge dislike for feet. I don't do feet. I hate feet. And everybody wants us to write like a guy that has a foot fetish and the girl that doesn't. And she wants to write the guy part, and she thinks she's going to win at the end of that book. And I say, no, I'm going to win at the end of that book. So I think really what's holding that back is just to see, I mean, the book would be never ending because it would be like us consistently fighting over who's going to get the last say on like me winning or her winning. So, I mean, to be honest, that's been in the works. It was like a long time running joke for a long time, but then it kind of clicked into our heads. But in all honesty, we do look at Storybook Pub was one of our biggest anthologies. And we have 3 different books that are inquired into that. And our main, I guess you can say, character in all of them was Cole O'Shea. And we have talked about giving him his story. So yes, there is stuff in works, but both of our lives, we're trying to get caught back up on our own books. We have 2 huge events coming up in the next year and a half. I think it's just a matter of us kind of unwinding enough. And will that ever happen? I don't know, but unwinding enough to where we can sit down and say, hey, let's get this started.
But you do imagine that if you were going to do it, it would be like a dual POV switch out.
At least on the rom-com.
On the rom-com.
And the thing is, she proved that she can write a rom-com in our Imperfect Date anthology. She proved that she can do it. So yeah, at least on the rom-com, it would be, dual POV. She'd write one, I'd write the other. I don't know on Cole's story how that would work. We have to figure that part out. We kind of wrote the premise. The readers don't know. We wrote a premise for Cole O'Shea's life, and we gave it to all the authors that were writing stories in those books. and the readers didn't get that. So
Okay.
the authors know his background, but nobody else does.
Yeah.
And so we did that on purpose. But then we also said, by the way, he can't be the love interest, but he has to be in each one of your stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The great thing about it was when you saw all of these authors write that character, they wrote him the same. They
Mhm.
wrote, he came across like he was the same character no matter which. I think the first one had 26 different stories, and each one of them portrayed him the same way. It was wonderful how well it happened. And of course, we did use Matthew Crothers as our Cole O'Shea model, and many of them had met him, and that probably impact. Oh, we're gonna, this is Matt. We're gonna write Matt.
Okay.
And it kind of fits because, well, you've met Matt, but it kind of fits because Cole O'Shea is kind of, I wouldn't say he's magic, but he just knows stuff and things happen around him.
Okay. Okay.
You know? So he's
I
kind of
like it.
mysterious.
Yeah.
Which
That makes
cool.
sense.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's interesting how things can come together so nicely in that way. Like Sarah and I, of course, have written together quite a bit, and we always do the dual POV. And I'm always interested in partnerships and how they approach different tasks, right? Like, because again, it's the same concept. Again, you shouldn't be doing the same thing. You should be complementing each other. But it was always fun in writing to get the next chapter from Sarah and see what my character had done next. It was like both reading and writing your own story. But it was always kind of amazing. I remember, especially on our first book, like how many details we kind of picked up in the same way. Because, like we had this idea of the characters so similar to what you're saying about this anthology, just like the way that some characters are just who they are. And kind of everybody kind of leans into that. And interestingly, our first male main character in our book Sips and Strokes was a cover model. So that was very fun to write. I had a really good time with that. This is amazing. So tell us a little bit about your upcoming events here before we wrap up.
Okay, well,
Wait.
our next event is in San Diego. It is on June 22nd this year, and it's in the Gas Lamp Quarter. We are hosting the Gas Lamp Quarter, something a little different. We did San Diego 2 years ago. We've done it every other year pretty much since we started doing signings because I'm a San Diego girl. So this year we're doing it in the Gas Lamp Quarter because the time before we did it in a nice hotel on the water, and it wasn't quite, there was nowhere to go after the event. You were kind of stuck at the hotel or wanted to go walk on the water. So now it's in the Gas Lamp Quarter, which is like the fun zone. It's, all the bars, all the restaurants, everything is there. You can't, there's so many places you could go that it's like, how do I know where to pick?
Nice.
And so we're doing it right there. And we're actually, the view from the space we're in is the actual Gas Lamp Quarter sign that lights up the section. So you look out the window and it's right there. It's perfect. So we're doing that, and we're doing some extracurricular outings with this one, which is a first for us. And I know you're joining us for one of them. We're doing a gas lamp crawl. So we're gonna have 5 stops, and there's some tickets left for that for readers right now, but it's limited. But we're doing a crawl where it's gonna be 5 stops on the Friday night. Like everything from, your starting drink to your dessert at the end, and a taco in the middle, and it includes a full meal and an appetizer and everything. It's just like, it's going to be great. It's all of it is all set. And then we're also doing a harbor cruise on the Sunday. We're doing a baseball game outing on the Sunday. And then after the event on Saturday night, one of our authors, Joy Eileen, is hosting her podcast. She's going to do it live from after the event. So that's going to be fun. And then after that, we have a haunted walking tour of the Gas Lamp Quarter that we have a couple of our authors hosting, which I've done that to make sure it was interesting and whatever. And it's very interesting. It's a lot of history and a lot of fun that goes with it. And they tell you, and you're like, really, that happened right here? And they show you things, and like, oh yeah, it happened right here. Oh, and you walk up to a place, and there's one particular spot, you walk up to it, and they say, so do you hear the saxophone playing? Because there's no saxophone playing, but apparently there's a thing where people hear the saxophone playing right there, and they can tell you the whole story why and all that stuff
Wild.
like that. Yeah, so we've got that going this time, and there's tickets available for everything except the baseball game right now.
Okay.
And if anybody wants tickets for the baseball game, they have to message me direct because it's only if there's any left at the stadium. So at this point. Then next year in Burbank, we are doing our first 2-day con, which
Woohoo.
is going to be absolutely insane. We've got a jam-packed schedule all day Friday and all day Saturday with signing on Saturday, party Saturday night, a cocktail party on Friday night. We're going to have, I think we're still going to have another time with some live reads. We're going to have 2 different panel sessions, plus some individual breakout rooms with authors. So there's going to be, and we're doing an author luncheon, so where readers can come in and sit down and have lunch with sponsoring authors. So it's
Sounds
going to
like
be so much fun. You don't even understand.
it sounds so fun, and it sounds like this is quite a lot for your partnership to keep going with. So that's amazing. I am excited to be joining you all very soon. But for now, that was good for me. Was it good for you, Sarah, Tonya, and Naomi?
That was fabulous.
Hell yeah.
Excellent. Hell yeah. That was amazing. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. And listeners, thank you for listening. If you like what you're here, please just leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen, and go read all of our books. There are many, many wonderful romances here that run across subgenres for you to enjoy. You can find out more about Naomi and Tonya over on Facebook. They each have individual groups, and they also have the Love and Devotion group. We will leave links to them and the Love and Devotion Con in the show notes. And as for me and Sarah, you can find us on Instagram at author Sarah Skye, and you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all at author Skye McDonald.
And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok. I am at author Sarah S. We love to hear from you, so reach out and DM us with any questions or requests for future episodes.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. Take care, everybody.
Bye.